Hi everyone, it's Nicole here for Simon Says Stamp, and today we're creating this beautiful trio of cards using components from the August 2024 card kit called Graceful Flowers. With my card kit creations, I love to try to stick to mostly card kit components with a few products from my stash thrown in. I'm starting by taking Domed Arches dies, both the frames and the shaped dies, and cutting up some of the patterned paper in the kit, some silver matte cardstock from my stash, and some top fold card bases from Simon Says Stamp. I love creating shaped card bases with the largest die from the Domed Arches by placing it slightly over the crease in a top fold card base and then running it through my die cutting machine. You will have to trim off a little bit down at the bottom, like a scant tiny little bit. I like it to just hang over the top of my crease in the top fold card base just a tiny bit to give it that shape. Here I'm just going to run it through. You can see only through that domed arch part, and then I pull it out of my die cut machine and remove those top little pieces. Then I always make sure to die cut an additional domed arch piece. This time I'll die cut that from some white cardstock in my stash that will go over the front of the card, and that will serve as the front of the card base. So even though I'm kind of wiping away a little residue from my Post-it tape, that doesn't really matter. So see, if I put my panels on like now, you're going to see that crease in the card, and I don't want that. On the piece that I die cut from some smooth white cardstock, I am taking some of the Distress Spritz from the kit, and I am spritzing my background panels. This one with peacock feathers. So you can see I did about 5 or 6 spritzes on the panel, which is going to give it a beautiful distressed look. I love it because it is not plain white. On the back, or the base, I guess I should say, of my card, I'm going to apply some adhesive and go ahead and cover up the front of my card. You can see that little bit down at the bottom that I will then take to my paper trimmer and trim away so that it is nice and clean on the front. This is really prepping our card bases for all of the beautiful goodies we're going to add on top, including our domed arch panels and pieces from the pattern paper included in the kit. The pattern paper in the August 2024 card kit is from Paper Rose Botanical Blooms collection. The nesting domed arch here out of the silver matte cardstock will help kind of frame up part of that pattern paper, I guess, if you will. So on the frame itself from the silver matte cardstock, I'm going to apply a thin line of glue, and I'm going to then adhere that in the center of my pattern paper. Once I have the frame down, the other piece I've die cut using this same die, but we're using the inner piece instead of the frame, we will replace right like that. And I love the different pattern papers. It instantly adds so much beauty to the card. Included in the August kit is this beautiful May Arts white ribbon. However, I had used my ribbon on another project, but luckily I had some more in my stash. So I went ahead and cut 3 lengths of the ribbon, and we are going to be spritzing them with the Distress Spritz from the kit. And I used peacock feathers on this one and also a little fossilized amber here and there. I like kind of doing a combination, very light with the fossilized amber. And then I do spritz on some dry paper towels, and then I kind of just press the paper towels into the ribbon to remove that excess moisture, as well as crinkle that ribbon just a little bit. I love when the ribbon ends up being a little crinkly. Then we're going to apply fossilized amber to another piece of the ribbon. I am doing 3 cards in today's video, again pressing out that additional liquid and then setting that aside to air dry. And finally, I used picked raspberry. Now the picked raspberry is kind of funny here. I don't think the pink matches the pink of the pattern paper super great on its own. But when paired with fossilized amber to help mute it a little bit or tone it down, it actually ended up being perfect. Plus, as it dries, it does tend to mute out a little bit more, but just spritz a little bit of that yellow on there. You will love it. So I'm going to set all of those aside to dry. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention is that Picked Raspberry didn't end up doing that same thing on my background panel for that card. I spritzed one with fossilized amber and one with Picked Raspberry. It's gorgeous. We're going to save it for another card for something else. However, you can see it's just a little too bright for the pattern paper, the Paper Rose pattern paper. So I went ahead and spritzed an additional panel of fossilized amber for that particular card. I wanted to just kind of mention that because I did try to stick to somewhat monochromatic, I suppose, with my card and color choices. But when something doesn't work out, don't be afraid to pivot. So next, I'm trimming up my front of my cards here just a little bit. Again, they have just that tiny, teeny little scant piece down at the bottom. I want to make it nice and flush. I will die cut the rest of the pattern paper in the kit, and here you can see all of my components ready to assemble, plus the 2 die sets from my stash that I used. Then I am going to wrap my ribbon around the panels. So here on the blue panel, I'm taking my dry blue ribbon and I'm tying it around the panel, and I'm going to tie it into a beautiful little bow. Definitely has some Parisian flair to it. And we're going to snip the ends beautifully like that. Put some foam adhesive on the back. This is my favorite foam adhesive from Simon Says Stamp, or one of them. And I am going to pop this whole panel up on my shaped card base. Look how beautiful that looks. Let's go ahead and assemble the remaining 2 cards. Again, starting with the silver matte frame. This time it's not exactly tone on tone. There wasn't 2 purple pattern papers or 2 yellow pattern papers. So what I did was I went through the pattern paper, and I tend to like the side of the pattern paper that generally is called the quote-unquote B side. So that's going to be more of your tone on tone, your simple, smaller stripes, polka dots, flowers, plaids, whatever it might be. So those are the sides of the pattern papers I ended up using. And I think I ended up using all of the pattern paper in the kit here for these 3 cards with the layering I did. So this particular card has the purple and white stripe with the grungy text background. I mean, I didn't even have to grunge it up. I love grungy text backgrounds. So this is amazing. And then it has the beautiful tone on tone yellow for the smaller domed arch on the inside. We have a blue and white stripe with a blue tone on tone and a pink and white stripe with the pink tone on tone. Absolutely gorgeous. And you can see the back of the pattern here and how it's a little busier. I've tied the yellow paper, or the yellow ribbon around the panel. I'm placing my foam tape on the back and then popping this panel up as well. Now, I do say that the other pattern on the back is busy, but they're beautiful, and they really could be the card with a nice simple sentiment all on its own. So very, very perfect for simplified kind of card making, I guess, if you will. Next, we are adhering this thin bead of glue on the last one and doing the same thing. So you're going to notice a theme. I talk about this a lot in videos, but I love if I have the components out and ready, and a card kit is perfect for this. If you have everything out, go ahead and make multiple cards. You will never regret having more cards on hand so that you can just mail them out at a moment's notice. And the Simon Says Stamp card kits are absolutely perfect for this. So remember when I was spritzing up this ribbon and I thought Picked Raspberry was too bright, but look how gorgeous it looks now. Dry with a little bit of that fossilized amber to tone it down on top. It's absolute perfection. And then it does look fantastic on the fossilized amber background. Fossilized amber, like a yellow spritzy background, is one of my favorites for a very versatile background. So I am popping all of these up now. And once we have our card bases, it is time to start thinking about the embellishment, which you can see I've already got out on my desk, and our sentiment. And we are going to copy the same floral embellishment and the same sentiment for all three cards. Now, in the Graceful Flowers 6x8 stamp set included in the kit, you get this beautiful stamp set. And it has a very big, bold floral image in that set. And I think the inclination is definitely to go towards that. My inclination was to go towards that. But don't underestimate the beauty of a single floral stem. So when I was designing these cards, really the big floral wasn't going to work on these card designs, but a small floral is the perfect accent. So I am stamping the floral, or one of the individual flower blooms and the stem with leaves 3 times because we need a set for each card. I'm stamping these on Bristol Smooth cardstock with the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink, heat embossing with white embossing powder, and then we're going to color, watercolor, if you will, with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and a water brush pen. Super simple coloring, and we're going to match the tone-on-tone look that we have done for the card backgrounds. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I will list the marker colors I used down in the description below the video here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel in case you want to color similarly. And I am applying my dark shade first. Then I'm going to blend out just a little bit with my lighter, and then we'll take a water brush pen and we'll pull that color out even more for that very simple watercolor look. I kind of call this cheater watercolor for those who maybe aren't watercolorists but love the look like I do. Included in your kit is that microfiber cloth. You might have seen it peek across the screen there. I did actually use that to kind of dab up some water from my water brush water brush pen, pardon me. You do want to clean it in between changing colors, and I usually just dab it off on a paper towel, or in this case the microfiber cloth. I have multiple of these microfiber cloths in my stash. I purchased quite a few of them because I love having a new one for each project. I just throw them in the wash then and wash them up about once a week and have a whole new set for when I craft next. So love, love, love these, and I love that you get one in the card kit this month. For my first bloom, we are going to do these shades of pink, but you might notice we got a little red here. This deep dark red is perfect, and then we're going to pull it out with a mauve color or a rose color. And then once we blend even more with the water brush pen, it's just the perfect shade to complement the pink card. If you don't want to incorporate water, you can always simply color in the entire image with your Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers instead. Absolutely love this. And with the addition of water, you really get that nice variegation in color. For the flower centers themselves, I will use a little bit of the mustard color. So that means on the card that is purple and yellow, we aren't going to do a yellow flower, but instead we'll do a purple flower because I did yellow flower centers for all 3 of my flowers. This will dry quickly. I do use the Bristol Smooth cardstock anytime I use the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, whether I'm doing traditional coloring with black outline or with the embossed outline that you see here, or no line coloring. Anytime I use the Zigs, I like to use the Bristol Smooth cardstock. I find you get the best results with these markers on that cardstock. And the results are absolutely beautiful. I love these purple shades. This is going to be the prettiest flower on this background, and you're really getting some nice variegation in color with the addition of that water. I do love the water brush pens. You could also use a paintbrush dipped in water if you prefer, but the water brush pens are just so super convenient, and I absolutely love them. That is probably what I used 99.9% of the time. So we're again going to color in the branch with the leaves. I think this is such a beautiful flowy image. There's a couple of different bloom options in this stamp set, so you can definitely play around with that. And I would love to see that big, beautiful image colored in similarly with these same colors. I think that would be stunning and a showstopper all on its own. So pretty. Okay, for our third and final flower, again, we've got our greens for the stem and the leaves, but we're going to do blues, of course, for that monochromatic type of look. I have to pick the perfect blues for this. So we're going to choose kind of more of the dusty blue colors, but we're going to have a darker blue and then the lighter blue, and of course, watercolor it so that it gets the variegation we like. Once I'm completely done coloring these images, we will go ahead and die cut them with the coordinating dies. The dies are a separate purchase and not included in the kit. So if you like to die cut your stamped images, you may want to go ahead and pick these up. It makes die cutting your florals so quick and easy, or any of your images for that matter. And I always love the dies. I talk a lot about I am not a fussy cutter, so I absolutely love them. Oh, look at these blues, you guys. So beautiful. Okay, once we have our components, it's time to start putting it all together. We're going to take a sentiment from the Graceful Flowers stamp set and stamp it 3 times on some Rainbow Splash black cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I did just go ahead and use an acrylic block. My favorite Simon Says Stamp clear embossing powder and clear embossing ink and white embossing powder. And then we are using the coordinating die to die cut this greeting. Look at how beautiful the flowers look on those card backgrounds. Now, funny enough, I think it almost looks like a floral in a glass cloche. And so that's kind of a fun effect as well. If you wanted to, you could always die cut some of your arches from that paper, back it with acetate and make shakers, or even so that it looks like your floral is in a glass cloche. That would be a fun effect as well. Now, once I have embossed, I did remove the excess powder from around my stamped and embossed sentiment with my dry microfiber cloth, and then I've die cut all 3 of these. Included in the kit is these foam adhesive squares. We always need lots of foam adhesive, so I love when we get foam adhesive in our card kit. We are die cutting, die cutting. We are applying these to the back of our stem, our flower bud, and then our sentiment, and attaching each to our card. The simplicity and beauty of these cards just, I think, will make any recipient smile. So absolutely beautiful. We're going to then overlap our sentiment. And this time, instead of centering the sentiment, we're going to shift it kind of right above that bow on our card. So I'm putting foam adhesive under part of the sentiment, but the rest of it we will glue with some liquid adhesive because it is layering over a part of the image that is already raised with foam adhesive. And look how beautiful that looks. It lines up with the bow perfectly. And then just to secure the bow, after I have everything in place, I'm putting a little bead of glue underneath the knot and placing my Simon Says Stamp reverse tweezers right over that so that it holds that bow down to the card, holds it in place while the liquid adhesive dries. Let's go ahead and adhere the components for the remaining 2 cards and finish it up. Once we have everything in place, I did go to my stash and grab some of the Rainbow Splash Clear drops, and we are going to apply a scattering of these to each card. It's really just the perfect finishing touch. You could use sequins, gems, pearls, any of your favorite embellishment here I think will work perfectly. I used these because they were clear and I could use the same ones on each card. And I'm just going to follow kind of a diagonal line from the upper left corner to the bottom right. I love to use this pick and pierce tool. I love that sharp pointy end for picking up the gems or droplets from the backer sheet and placing them on my project and keeping my fingers out of that adhesive. That way the natural oils from our skin don't get in the way of adhering those embellishments to our project. Absolutely beautiful. So let's place those on our final 2 cards, and then we're going to take a close-up look of all 3 finished card designs. I love that they almost look like maybe little water droplets or something. The perfect finishing touch. And I think I did about 5 per card. And a couple down here. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this trio of beautiful Parisian-inspired cards featuring the Simon Says Stamp August 2024 card kit called Graceful Flowers. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.